love solving. I mean, I've been around with a lot of good people who taught me, mentors like the guy Sehat, recently passed away, Marvell founder. These guys inspired to what to do, solve the problem. I was speaking to him like very often. He's a very technical guy and amazing brains to be able to work with. I used to call him a multi-processor, multi-core at the time. He was talking about 20 years ago, that was big. I went to a boarding school back in India where it was close by the military base. So a lot of flights, going off of you, and got fascinated by those flights. For me, it's not the hours. It's the thing I like. Every day I get up, I want to do something. Taking a risk was okay. He always encouraged to do it. You have to be comfortable to be uncomfortable. It's not that you will be attacked, if, it's actually when. You just need to make the product and made it. I'm fortunate to have a right team around me. Nobody's going to pay for this expensive and all that stuff, but ended up solving the problem. Then everybody paid for the Wi-Fi routers. Startup is great to think about it. I want to solve. A lot of people will die because by the time you come through, silicon is ready. It's not going to solve. You may think it solved the world hunger, but if it doesn't solve a small problem. So I had to validate the world of outside. So you can see that most of the cyber attacks come from anonymous systems, which is somebody took over a library PC and then able to attack that too. So that means that need to be protected at the same. If fire station is on fire, it doesn't matter how many tools are inside. Okay, you can have a monumental size of it that you can stop anything in there, but it's already on a fire. There's nothing you can do.
Today, we're thrilled to welcome Gopi Sirineni, the visionary president and CEO of Axiado. Gopi is a seasoned executive renowned for driving sustainable growth and innovation.
With expertise in building efficient organizations and managing budgets up to $1 billion, he excels in navigating complex technical and business challenges.
A pioneer in distributed Wi-Fi and RF sensing technologies, Gopi has significantly impacted networking standards.
His specialties encompass IoT, cloud solutions, and advanced networking, making him a leader in the industry. Let's dive into the conversation with Gopi.
Hello and welcome to the Semiconductor Leadership Podcast, the platform that dives deep into the stories, insights, and strategies of the semiconductor industry. I'm your host, Salah Nasri, and whether you're an industry veteran or someone that's just curious about the semiconductor industry, this podcast is designed to bring you valuable lessons from the brightest minds in the industry. From cutting-edge R&D to latest or leadership strategies to global market trends, we will cover it all. So before we get started, I would like to ask you a sincere favor. Click that subscribe button to YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcast. The more followers that we get, the more interesting and dynamic the podcast will become. And it really helps us bring you the best conversations in the semiconductor world. For example, our special guest today. So in today's episode, we're joined by Gopi Sirineni, the CEO at Axiado. So without further ado, let's jump into the conversation. Welcome to the podcast, Gopi. It's nice to see you.
Thank you, Salah. Happy to be here.
Pleasure. It's, I haven't seen you for 5 years now, or 6 years maybe, so a lot has changed, right? Gopi, I mean, before I dig in deep into your career, everything has a beginning. I'd love to know about your childhood. How was it, and how did you enter the semiconductor world?
For me, it's a good question. I went to a boarding school back in India where it was close by the military base. So a lot of flights, going off of you, and got fascinated by those flights and stuff like that, military flights. A lot of people think about how the flights are flying, but for me was, how do they know from point A to point B? And it's actually inspired me to find out they do a radio communication, and they do talk to so that you know the path. There's a road here, but there's no road there, the directions. That made me be interested in a more of a communication side. So I did my bachelor's degree with specialization in satellite communications. And that led to what communications needed to do. The semiconductors came in and did a master's in here. That's also part of the semiconductors. So a lot of people from India, everybody at the time was jumping to computer science itself. But for me, I want to stay in this electrical and electrical communications. And I'm still doing the same thing again, I guess. Either Wi-Fi, Ethernet, everything is, it's not satellite communication, but definitely some level of semiconductor level communication. So that pretty much stayed in here. I'm happy. I love every day my work, something in this world.
Yeah. So run through us, briefly, you've had an impressive career journey from pioneering mesh Wi-Fi technology to leading cybersecurity innovation at Axiado now. So, what inspired you to pursue this path in technology?
You're talking about the present Axiado?
Correct, yeah.
Or general?
General, just in general, yeah.
No, I love solving. I've been around with a lot of good people who taught me, mentors like the guy Sehat, recently passed away, Marvell founder. These guys inspired to what to do, solve the problem. If there is a solution already, or it's easy solution, 100 people would have done that. And I love to solve the complex problem. Ask for why that happens and how this happens always, and that made us to be part of the. I'm fortunate to be in a Bay Area that everybody enables that thinking in here. People do fund the things and enable the market to go after. So that made us to this is my fourth part of the company, fourth startup company, and the previous one was a Wi-Fi mesh. We tried to do it. Team was great. Everybody had a cell phone. That was a simple solution, and simple problem statement was, walk into a coffee shop and your Wi-Fi struggled. I'm talking about 15 years ago. Wi-Fi struggles, but your cellular doesn't struggle. So question was simple, curious to why. And that made us to look into more radios and how you manage the radios and all the stuff. That became a Wi-Fi SON, which is Wi-Fi mesh. So you're just looking at the complex problem and how you can solve. Here also, same thing. It got bored maybe after 8 years at Qualcomm, wanted to do something else. And we were looking at the cybersecurity at the time. Partially, I worked on the security side before, but then most of the cybersecurity companies are solving the problem of port of entry, means bad actor coming into your system, how the software will be stopped or not, whether it's a guy coming from your phishing mail comes up, or some problem in your kernel, Linux, etc., all that stuff. I'm a semiconductor guy. I want to see how I can do a roots, which is a silicon. And we looked at the problem and say, okay, this is, even after all these hundreds of companies are providing you software solutions to protect against cybersecurity, it's still passing through. Then we got to be able to do something underneath. So we built this as a last line of defense. You still need all those cybersecurity solutions, whatever the port of entry protecting, whether it's a Palo Alto, whether it is a Snowflake, CloudStrike, all that stuff. But then if you pass through, they are going to touch your hard disk, which is the data for you, or the platform to take over as a super user. In both cases, it's in hardware. So that's where we came up with this Axiado solution, which is we call a platform security solutions. Thanks to NVIDIA and Jensen in the world, this whole AI computing has been great in the market and a lot of enablement. So we don't need to invent that piece of the wheel. So we took that AI functions into and put it in here, solving the security problem of a platform with rather than a general purpose computing today. This is an accelerated computing, what we put it to. And that's exactly. We're similar to what NVIDIA does too, but our inference engines are different. We're small inference engines compared to NVIDIA type of images. So we take a packet patterns, packet information, sensor data. These are like, if I had to compare, 1/1,000,000th of the size of what a 4K image will look like. So I don't need a big fat memory and a storage, but still the functionality is similar, what we work. So since 4.5 years now, in the beginning, just like Wi-Fi mesh, when we talked about, Nobody wants to use this one. Everybody questioned this. Nobody's going to pay for this expensive and all that stuff, but ended up solving the problem. Then everybody paid for the Wi-Fi routers, and that is now was 98% of the market in the outside. Qualcomm still leads in their market. Same way here, when we started talking to, I'm out of my mind to do, and people are going to trust me as a small company, as a cybersecurity for platforms. Fast forward to 4.5 years for burning out some money, and we are now 150 people or so company. We are able to now get the silicon is here for last 9 months, and we have shipment starts in Q1. So pretty good, and big companies, all NVIDIA platforms. We announced it on Supercompute last week, or actually this week. At OCP also showed. This year has been great. We're about to announce our Series C next week. So looks things are going well. You just need to make the product and made it. I'm fortunate to have a right team around me. Majority of the team actually came from the companies I work with, and they came in when there's nothing. Okay, there's nothing there. It's an idea concept, and now we have something we're all excited to deliver. Next 18 months is going to be big for us.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very sincere congratulations. What's really intriguing, and I'd love to understand this from you, is that you had a very comfortable role at Qualcomm. What is the key element or differentiator that you've seen, and how you resemble that message with your team to be able to say, right, I've got this comfortable role, now I'm just going to jump off the cliff and do a startup where people say that I'm crazy for doing? Where does that brave, bold, but sometimes very risky demeanor come from?
I have an adrenal, so I do a lot of sports. I play all and jump off the planes, do a bungee jumping, all that stuff too. So maybe there is some adrenal in my genes that I do. I take a risk. That's one. It's more than that. It's personal is different versus I do bikes, dirt bikes, and all that stuff too. But work-wise, Qualcomm, I'll give you an example. Yes, it was very comfortable role and don't need to go. But it was coming to a state that it's more of a bean counting rather than innovation. We got $1 billion business running. It's more how do you make sure that grows gradually, don't lose up, versus something creative you can put it on top. So it was all bothering me in the head to want to do something else. Originally, actually, I tried to spin out a company out of Qualcomm a year before when I started this. So concept was something I want to go do something else too. Whatever the reason, in the last second, we didn't do that deal, and finally. But let's say my life and wife was ready for another startup, so thought come by and do it. I didn't expect pandemic is going to be there. So came in 3-4 months later, everything is shut down. That's something new. I thought I know how to do these things, but then there was a different problem. But it also helped me. It was a tough thing, but also helped me. Pandemic also helped me because when we reached out to same Rolodex people, so when you think about the problem statement, you had to validate with the people. End of the day, you can have a rocket science in here. If nobody's going to pay for it, it's useless. And if not going to solve, you may think it solved the world hunger, but if it doesn't solve a small problem. So I had to validate. So I reached out to all the Rolodex guys. Good or bad, as I said, bad was tough to raising the money, telling the concept people. But the good about it was everybody was going on a Zoom call. And so I got the calls on a Zoom. I was the only guy in the office sitting down, and then, out of a room calling people. They were supposed to be 30 minutes calls, but they don't have anything to do because everything is shut down too. Right. So they gave me more time. They call, let me call my CTO, let me call my business guy, let me see this one. So we talked about it as a concept. So pretty much that from every, big CSPs to all the networking guys and every customer, give me a lot more details of the problem they're facing, then able to construct together what the problem statement is going to look like and what we need to solve, and came out to be. And now it looks obvious, but definitely it was not, 5 years ago when we started this talking about. So you had to go and do these things. Yeah, I could have said, okay, this is a problem, let me go. I got trained by people, when you jump, you're not trying to think of why did I jump, okay? And then you're not going to solve the problem. You already jumped. Okay, once you jump, take the leap and try to land properly. As long as you can land properly, then learn how to, swim. Okay, so it's one at a time. I didn't know exactly what you just talked about. Are we going to be next to NVIDIA and all that stuff? We all want to be dream of it, and even portion of that is okay to be, but then one day at a time. In the beginning, it was a product we want to make. So try to make that to happen. It was risky and convincing the people to come by. And not everybody could come with the situational financial markets. You don't get the full paycheck and all that. But there's enough people. I'm in a place in Bay Area is a beautiful place to people do take risk. I'm not just anybody different than, more typical in the Bay Area for that. So I'm fortunate to be. But yeah, allowed to take risk and stuff. You won't know. That's the part of the fun. So if you ask same NVIDIA, Jensen asked that will you do it again? He said no.
Yeah. Okay. Would you do it again? You've done it 4 times, is
For
it?
me, I don't know. At this age, whether I want to do one more or not, I don't think so. My wife believes that I won't stop. But it's an adrenal. You get it. There was a tough days. It will be. But the adrenal at the end makes a big difference. That's you will forget about all the stuff at the end when you make it successful, and then you keep that track for your life. That's the thing too. Yeah, I'm not one of those to be relaxed, and maybe I'm crazy. So as you said, it's all the part.
You got to be crazy to be an entrepreneur. You got to be crazy, and you got to hire crazy people with you.
People there.
All right?
Yeah. There's enough people in the Bay Area that are crazy will do it, and that's the beauty of this. That's all.
Love it. You really think it's the Bay Area? You don't think that this could have been happening in other places in the world? Why just the Bay Area?
If you notice, is in here. It just happened to be here. A lot of companies and the VCs and from NEAs of the world to be now as companies like Maverick Silicon coming and investing in the company. They do take a risk. First of all, some wealth. Wealth is around, and wealth is around. Then people meeting in person makes it more comfortable to, like if I'm talking to you as pitching a company, you'll be looking at my passion versus in a video or a call or type of thing, or I had to fly to you. So I can go to 50 different VCs here or anybody who's looking for money. There's everybody's 2 degrees separation. You will be able to get somebody to know somebody. So that setup is, I don't think the rest of the world is there yet. It's all copying from here, including even if you go to East Coast. Now it's becoming bigger. Start growing outside world also, but culturally here has been more haven for the investments, taking the risk, and able to bet on something to make it. Returns has been good. Not only that, people. It's not just the founders and the guys starting this, or they just money. Money is one thing you can pitch the idea, get it, but the people to come and do it. It's not single person, especially semiconductor. It's like years. We're talking about 4 years for me. So you had to have a stomach of investors able to do for a long 4 years with you, and then next 2 years to go to production and make it money. Startup is great to think about it. I want to solve. A lot of people will die because by the time you come through, silicon is ready for you or semiconductor parts are ready. Either market is not there or market is gone already, your opportunity lost. So you have to see through that far to be able to do. That's the difference. And then the investment side, somebody has to be patient enough to 4 or 5 years with you before he can get the returns on the money. The rest of the world was tough. If before we started, last 2 years has been good for semiconductor world. But if you look at just take the 2022 out and beyond on the back of it, almost a decade was empty. Nobody put any money at all. Everybody was going to social media and all that stuff. But maybe NVIDIA showed this world or infrastructure world came up. It's a cyclical world, so it's now up and doing it. So rest of the world is copying, is good, but I'm just saying I'm fortunate to be here. It's a little bit easier. It was easier than the previous one. The previous one was easier than the one before. So it all depends on how much trust in people. End of the day, team and the thought process is okay, but then execution. So,
the interesting thing is going to the core of your statements is that if I was to give someone a book that said, right, this is how you swim, and they read that book, and then I put them on the boat, go into deep in the sea, and I say to them, right, now jump, swim, they were not going to know how to swim when they read the book. So it's through practical experience. Where do you see that in relation to the work that you are doing in your career, and how does that relate?
It's all way type, your personality. I would say characterize the people are, 3 types. You are going to be trailblazer. That means you're going to cut out and figure it out, cut the grass and path, and you may end up in a hole on the back or the other side. You try to learn to get up and out. Second guy comes up and makes the best product out on that path itself, better road. Third one is just daily labor. Nothing wrong with each of them. So there's a risk on the first one, and it doesn't matter how many books you read. It's always going to be different, and you have to be ready. There's saying in this world, and it's not mine, you have to be comfortable to be uncomfortable. Okay? And you have to be able to be completely everyday uncomfortable and not sure, but you should be comfortable with that. A lot of people cannot handle that. That's the biggest in a startup company. And you're okay to be. And then trust each other to make something. Whatever you're thinking about is the right product to go do it. And that's, not everybody gets successful. Sometimes I'm fortunate. As I said, it all matters, the timing, and some has to be tailwinds in there. You can do all you wanted. Greatest companies died. Greatest ideas died because it was the wrong timing.
Yeah. You can see that just simply if we talk about search engines. Once upon a time there was like Yahoo, Alta Vista, all of these guys, and then Google came in and just took over. From your perspective, Gopi, can you share a pivotal moment or a milestone that pretty much shaped your mindset today?
So I came to this country, obviously for the opportunity, and I want to be able to learn and then able to definitely make. And when I was inducted at my Hall of Fame for the school, my professor was telling, apparently I told him whatever 5th day in the college in here, why did I come in here? I told him I want to learn and I want to start a company and I want to name a stadium name on my company name. So I said, okay. I didn't remember all that stuff, but the passion was to go do it. And say, okay, the naming the stadium is left. I think I started a couple to play. So where it came from, it's just adrenal to be. My dad is a professor, and he's always teaches outside, and there was always inspirational thing to go do something different. I've seen his students become doctors, engineers, and big leaders, and all that stuff too. Also, I want to be part of this. I'm curious about solving something. Taking a risk was okay. He always encouraged to do it, and so. Since then, I guess it's all opportunities. Obviously, landing back in a Bay Area in here. I went to school in Arkansas. How I ended up in here is, I had a job in Texas itself. If I go there, I don't know, maybe not this opportunity, but I think once coming here is a pivotal. Marvell was the biggest one. Okay. After IDT, I ended up in Marvell to work for Sehat. That company is amazing. It's you learn from a fire hose, you drink from a fire hose. Everything. There's no limitations. There's no lines of what role you'll do. That's the culture, Sehat. That's why I like him for that. It's not comfortable for that. Something you don't know. He'll put you into there to be able to learn. So that is a big opportunity. When you're young itself, 20s, 25, company like that will treat a lot better, and means you learn a lot better from everything you can do, rather than pigeonholed into the big companies and big monstrous companies. At the time it was Intel. If I was in Intel, maybe it was a small role I would have been done. Versus this kind of companies teach you. And we were just talking about there is a memorial service for Sehat in the next week or so. We noticed that the guys we started with early days with Sehat, all of us are now the founders of the companies, and being around. It's interesting to see 5, 6 of us CEOs of the companies. So it shows you that that company is trained well. So that is when you ask for it. Ideal break is that's a company. Working at Marvell was a big changing point.
You mentioned
I was an engineer, turned into the business guy. I don't think anywhere else would have been opportunity. That's where it was.
Yeah, you mentioned Sehat several times in this discussion. What does he mean to you?
Maybe I'm mentioning that because he just passed away. I was speaking to him very often. He's a very technical guy and amazing brains to be able to work with. I used to call him a multi-processor, multi-core at the time. He was talking about 20 years ago. That was big. He can think a lot of stuff. That maybe I'm talking more because he just happened to be passed away, and then that's all. He's a big brother. There's nothing I didn't discuss with him. Nothing personal type, but I've seen from a company from small to going up and fighting against the big bellwethers, and learn a lot from there. We don't know everything, but trying to figure out to be. We could be technologists. The one what he taught me is technology could be CEO. You could be deep technologist, but CEO. In olden days, before that, it was a cookie cutter model for the CEO means different guy.
Yeah.
And different skill set. You got to go for golf and you do sales and all that stuff. You don't need to know anything technology, and that definition was CTO. But I think I learned a different way from him. Yeah, we could do both type of thing, and that's why I look up to him. Yeah, he's his big brother.
Remarkable. Looking at the Wi-Fi innovation and the connected home per se, and at Qualcomm, I mean, you were a pioneer of the distributed mesh Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi Sun. Can you walk us through how this technology transformed the connected home market per se?
So as I talked about, the problem statement was we're looking at, okay, why would cellular thing is okay, that it's not interfering with each other, and you get the 100 people sitting in a room having a cellular connection was not a problem. But once you put the 100 people in a room with a Wi-Fi on a one access point was a problem. I want to solve that problem. So realize it's nothing but everybody's trying to fight for the same medium, which is Wi-Fi unlicensed spectrum. So you need to have some guardrails to do it. So we thought process to put together, then Qualcomm was doing they are the experts in the cellular. So try to pick up the ideas, whatever the way they're solving the cellular problem, and put it into unlicensed spectrum, which was a Wi-Fi. And that's the gist of it. And then how do you, in a outside cellular world, base station to base station handover properly happens, or Wi-Fi side it's not. So I bring the handover thing properly in here. And then something called load balancing means if you got too many people on one thing, you have to be able to distribute back. And those are the simple things, and technology-wise put it. We believed in that's the real problem, rather than everybody saying that nobody's going to pay for a Wi-Fi router more than $49. Comcast at the time said no way, and Netgear, CEO of Netgear, Patrick said, he's my buddy now, but he said, no way in the world this is going to be the problem. This is going to be, nobody's going to pay me more than $49. Don't waste my time. Don't teach how to cough for an old man, something like that. Okay. And we said, no, there's something value in here, people. So we worked with a small company called Hero, and we showed this is actually something. And my mom can use. My mom don't understand what that is, how many antennas, bunny and all that. So you explain to the people, you solve the real problem, you're able to get it. So we were able to envision, as I just talked about, any problem statement you talk about, in the beginning, if you talk about these things to be, if it's already obvious and something has a flag outside saying that there's a multi-billion-dollar opportunity, or everybody would flock that, okay? Can you look up, see through this all, engineered view of it, and then can find, okay, this is something opportunity, this is the problem opportunity, either the money or a problem. You're solving something, then the overall money will come into the, so can you identify that? I think that's pretty much any leader, if you want to do a risk of that, that's what it is. Find the problem that people really have that you need to address. They'll pay for it, okay? If you try to do a better mousetrap, yeah, maybe that's a different market. Versus as a startup, especially technology, you need to be so superior out that something nobody's looking at. So I see an opportunity when there's a, chaos and confusion that people are not ready. So that's maybe I'm trained by the people around me, from the teachers to be able to the colleagues, workers, bosses, everybody. So I don't think I can change now, but that's the way it is.
And I mean, of course, with the problem statement and the rise of smart homes and IoT devices, how do you see the evolution now on Wi-Fi and network intelligence for the next decade, do you think?
Yeah, so obviously I'm not there right now, last 4 years, but obviously this is close to my heart. Yeah. So at the time when we talked about handing over to one to other, the sideband signals to one AP to other access point, there's no spectrum was available that much before. The 5G, second 5G spectrum was not there. So now it's opened up, more channels have to. So that's not your consumer device is not using. So that's a dedicated channel to talk to between them. So you solve the connectivity of these. I think that's growing well. With that said, means you pretty much solve the problem of Wi-Fi is now unlicensed cellular type technology, and now the Wi-Fi 7, 8, and all that merging together. I believe now the applications on top. Okay, what else you can use now? No kid, will live without a Wi-Fi. No. Okay, you cannot even have a kid to be. It's like a default. He will be okay for not having water for 3 hours, but he's not going to be okay for the Wi-Fi. So it's basically the genuine default connection for you to the rest of the world. Okay, what else you can do with the medical, health, and all that stuff. Towards the end of the Qualcomm tenure for me, we were looking at selling this to, you have a small box next to your bed. It will monitor your sleep and your, tracking your heartbeat, your fall, all that. So there's a lot of innovation need to, or will be coming, it's already coming, to be able to do the healthcare, industrial, automobile, everything is going to be part of this. And then even street Wi-Fi. And you have a licensed and unlicensed. Don't call it any more cellular or non-cellular type. It will be end of the day, in my opinion, it's a cellular, it's a licensed and unlicensed spectrum. How you use up that, I think Wi-Fi is here to stay. I don't think it's going anywhere. It's just my personal, and I'm giving a shout out to the Qualcomm. They're doing an amazing job on that piece. Yeah. That team's still there. So
very good. So your career includes leadership roles at companies like you mentioned as Marvell, Applied Micro, Qualcomm. What are the common themes or lessons that you've carried throughout these roles?
No offense to the people, but you think common sense is common, but it's not.
Yeah.
Okay. I struggled in all my life. It's obvious for me, but a lot of people it's not. Okay, so that means, again, it's not trying to be negative. You have to come down to be one thing I learned over the years of all these companies of leadership. It's important if somebody fails, it's a failure of not the person, it's a failure of the leader, okay? Because he's not able to come down to explain and extract the max out of it. That's the biggest lesson I learned. So you have to come down to, train yourself to come down to the people's level. And whatever it is, some people has a great strength of communication, some people has a great strength of technology, cannot do it. So you have to come to that level. It's okay. Bypass the negative point of a person and reach the positive point, then you can get it. As a leadership and all these things, maybe in the beginning I was not. Maybe I was just general. And as somebody told me, there is being aggressive and abrasive is very close to each other. You can be aggressive, but you can be abrasive. I might have been. Over the years, I learned what's that fine line. When first time somebody told me not, but a fine line to be. It's important to come down to whether even if you're selling something to somebody or you're buying something to be, there has to be a match. Okay, you have to learn how to come down to that level to make that match. It's simple. I mean, I'm not trying to teach psychology in here, but I think that's what it is. And then if there is a trust from the other side, whether it's a customer or an employee or your colleague, once you build up the trust, how do you get the trust? Because you're able to communicate in the same language, same level of language, and then you get the best out of each other. That's exactly what I learned from during this. So.
No, fair. There's a great book that I'm not sure if you read called Never Split the Difference, and it's about a former CIA or FBI person, and when he talks about this type of form of communication is how to mimic the other person and match it out. The thing is when you talk about common sense, I always link it to standardization.
Okay.
And as someone who's contributed to Ethernet and Wi-Fi standards, alongside other industries or maybe what you're working on right now, how important is standardization in driving innovation adoption in the industry per se?
I mean, it's simple for all of us to write. And if there is no rules on the road, it's a chaos. Okay, there has to be rules. Everybody going to drive left, drive right. You make an indicator and all that. That's all the standardization is. The road is going to be on the right side. I got to be able to some level of it can be wider or things like that. So pure standardization is very tough. It's a political. And because who writes the first standard, coming in the committee for a take all out, but somebody has to take and do it in a lead purpose. So I do support open standardization, and I'm a fan of that. But at the same time, it's an innovation you cannot come up with just by the general open standard itself. People has to be able to, companies able to sponsor that to be able to. So yeah, as I said, I believe in rules need to be there. That's what the standards means.
I mean, one of the interesting things that I saw about yourself is that you also chaired the IEEE Project Authorization Requests.
Yes.
PARs. Can you share how your work there kind of influenced the development of key technology?
That particular was, if I remember correctly, it was a backward congestion notification in a standard fabric at the networking. That was a high-end networking at Marvell. I think I was there.
Yes.
So writing this thing to be... So today is pretty much taken the backplane of the servers at the time. So how do you connect and make it redundant so that one line fails, and how to give it just like paths and all that. So think like a water flow. So you have to continuously have a flow. Otherwise, heartbeat won't be there. So find a different ways. If it goes back up, you one-to-one, one-to-many type of the combinations. So yeah, there's a process in IEEE. So you had to go author these things and present to the people. Then people vote for it. Yeah, this is something to work on it, and then we go work on it, and everybody start contributing to that. It's a good. I love it. I'm still in a lifetime IEEE membership guy, so I do follow. That's the way the world. Now in this company, we do through the OCP. Okay. So I'm giving a shout out to the OCP guys in here. Without OCP, I don't think it would have been easy for a company like Axiado. Because big companies won't give you time to do it, but they made a standard how the card will look like and the interface will look like. For me to go on a silicon and a default on a, let's say, Intel board, Intel will build it 3 years out. So I had to have a silicon in my hand to give it to Intel for it to put it on a different design for 3 years out. Means I got to give the silicon and wait for the 3 years. There's no way any investor would have waited. Versus the plug-in cards, that means I can swap anytime you want it, and you give a better card works. So this is one big example of why the standards are important for us, whether it's an IEEE, whether it's OCP, whether any of the telecom things. So I think it's perfect to help us, help everybody outside.
All right, let's go into, thank you for the wonderful overview. I mean, it's exactly what I expected from you, Gopi. Let's go into cybersecurity and Axiado. Axiado focuses on securing digital infrastructure with intelligent hardware and software platforms.
Yes.
So what sets Axiado apart from a competitive, or let's say other companies in this madness space known as cybersecurity?
So as I talked about, right, in the beginning, I mentioned this one to be, the premises of the company is simple. Doesn't matter how many companies are outside solution today, still is able to go into the system. So I'm thinking in a system, or a hardware guy is able to still attacks are there. Why are you not able to stop? So concept was software is a solution, software is a problem. It means people are using the same software. So it's basically rat race of who becomes smart over other. I want to be able to solve underneath of it. So we looked at, so a simple example for the company, in a data center world, the only connection to the outside is there are two type of ports. One is a data port, one is a management port. Yep. So data port is, for a decade or so, it was always behind the firewall. Let's say, if you type in, let's say Yahoo server, www.yahoo.com, and name mapping server mapped to the firewall of that Yahoo, and that comes to the data port. Firewall is a perimeter security. Means outside in, it's able to detect where it is and stops. But if there's a bad thing inside the payload, the firewall cannot do it. Certain level, yes, but not. That's where the world started something called DPUs, which is Mellanox, Fungible, Qualcomm, Broadcom, Marvell, all these guys. It's a default right now on the data port. On the management port side, the port was only intranet access, means the people within the building or your IT guys accessing. During the AWS terms, 2017 onwards, and then also pandemic made your IT guys also on the cloud. Okay, so what they did is take the management port connected behind the same firewall or a similar one. So our premise as the company is simple. If the whole world, we all agreed for last 15, 20 years that firewall is not good enough for me to secure the data port, that's why we created something like DPU, then why in the world it's okay for the management port is behind that, okay? we need to be able to have something like DPU on the other side. That's where we came up with our TCU, Trusted Computing and Control Units. So it's a analogy stops right there, because the challenge on the DPU is line rate running at 800 gig or so, that you need to do a deep packet inspection and enable to find the problems inside. But it doesn't do a different type of security. On the control and management side, you have a keys, generation of keys, key management, attestation, authentication. It's not the line speed is a problem, but it's how you do these things are fully secure. How much encrypted the whole thing is, key generation, key exposure, how the malware comes into, all that stuff is, how do you authenticate the bad pluggable cards inside, how do you authenticate your software, firmware, all that stuff. So-called zero trust needed to be hardware anchored. So that's what the difference in the company. We created this true root of trust, hardware anchored, with accelerated computing on that. So this is completely new. You asked for how do we differ from the competition? Competition is there no security, no management at all? There is, definitely. But it's a piecemeal today. It's been Band-Aid solution. All pieces been added for over the decades. The funny thing is, 25 years ago, I was working at IDT, but I was also doing a moonlighting evening work, because we have enough energy that we don't have enough work at the company at the time. So we were trying to work with the friends to a company called Server Engines, which is sold to it today to Broadcom. So we built, we were working, at the time I was working, me and my CTO were working on that chip as a consultants, okay? That chip sold to Broadcom, Broadcom sold it to ASP today. Fast forward 28 years later, we're doing a modification of that chip and calling this TCU today. Okay, completely different. It's an interesting, world of this is how we come in. But the technology is still there. That's what I'm trying to make a point. That architecture, when we worked on the 28 years, it's not like we innovated at the time, but whatever was there, it's still that. 28 years later, we're still using the control and management, the same thing what has been a quarter century ago. How can that be okay for us? So that's exactly what we're trying to do is right now. It's interesting that we worked there before, but that's the change, complete rethinking. Again, I did not reinvent the wheel, okay? It's 9 out of the 10 things, ideas. You don't need to come up with a magical science outside. It's able to use the accessible knowledge outside, put together properly, integrate and make something valuable. So we put that together, something you can addressable to be able to. That's why we are here. Difference is, as I said, I'm not replacing any software solutions in the market. It's a complementary. Think like we are able to, as a last line defense in the hardware. I gave it to somebody in another interview example, I'll give it to you. Today's security, think like this way. A building has a multiple doors and stuff, okay? And then has a building as a cameras outside for that to watch out. And then you have a hard door outside, and then your money chest, let's say bank. Let's take it as a bank, okay? The so-called cameras outside is something in here in the world of related to security called XDR services. So these are the Snowflake, CloudStrike, Centillion, all the type of companies. These are cameras. Most of the, we're not talking about a dumb, small kid somewhere trying to, break it something versus the state actors. The first thing they're going to do is turn off the cameras, okay? So these tools in the software will turn off. The next thing they need to come through the firewall, which is your hardware door, okay? If the door breaks in, once the cameras are done, there's nothing door need to break in. That's Palo Alto type of firewalls. Both of them are broken. There's nothing you can do. They are inside already. Okay, there's nothing protection after that door to you. Yeah. So in that example of your money chest, so consider us as we're right in front of the money chest. So we know there's something happened, the cameras are turned off. We don't know who turned off, we cannot see on the hardware, the software guy, something happened. So our AI engine is able to detect that something happened there. So I'm going to be guarded. Right now I'm going to be watching more. And then the door broken, means firewall came in. Yeah. Somewhere an anomaly happened, so I'll be able to detect and think like I'll lock up, second lock in there, trying to call for help that something is happening before they can attack. If I can't stop it, at least I can collect the forensic data and push out to the cloud so that away from this mission, so that I know next time who came into view. So that's the bigger difference for us.
One of the evidently, cybersecurity is now increasingly high priority for governments now and businesses. So what trends or kind of challenges do you see shaping the future of this field?
So one is everybody talks, maybe it's a little change a few years, but everybody talks about cybersecurity is a great thing I need to work on. But then when time comes to pay for it, and they will look for a cheaper solution. Okay, that's where, no offense to the software guys, but then I want to solve it simpler, flexibility and all that. So you need to forklift change is a painful to anybody to do it. You can see Palo Alto started as a hardware company, but people were not ready to do it, and then become a software company. Now they start spending because people realize.
Yeah.
So that's the bigger. Everybody talks, but then everybody's too comfortable. It's okay. I'm able to survive. So there's a bigger issue in a fine line in here. It's not that you will be attacked, if, it's actually when. Okay. As long as you're important to somebody, you're vulnerable. Whatever you have a solution today, and a simple example to say, if you have a money in the bank, if you're rich, there are more people looking for you to be able to break in. If you're not, nobody cares. So can you say that I'm fully secure? No, people didn't care about you. So same thing as the data right now, it need to be able to that everybody cared about everything. Even $5,000 stealing is also happening. So that means every small school thing need to be worried about. Every small bank every small library need to be protected. Before they are not. But that particular port is connected all the way to the world of outside. So you can see that most of the cyber attacks come from anonymous systems, which is somebody took over a library PC and then able to attack that too. So that means that need to be protected at the same. So people need to be able to solve. Another so that's one, people talk but not spending. I've seen, I have emails from bigger companies even today. By the way, security is not important for us. Okay, we all wanted to do a big mainstream AI and all that, but at the same time they say, if nothing happens, if something happens, we do mea culpa and come in. So that's the issue of, are you ready to do an insurance policy? So this is one. The second bigger problem I want to advocate is to the world, if I have energy later to be able to do, is bad actors are coordinating together. Okay, there's enough social media sites in there to be able to coordinate enough. Same AI we are talking about, bad actors also has that AI.
Yeah.
So they as in tools they have better than you. And they're all coordinating to do the attack together. They're sharing each other to be, what was this to be, where it is vulnerable and all that. Unfortunately, our agencies are not coordinated. Like I'll give you ours. We train our models to be the chip every time. Means I'm collecting the data as we're doing, the inference engines on the chip. But then I had to collect all this stuff from all the sources and able to make it a better data set for that to be more smart. But bigger companies are not ready to share any of the data outside. Means if you take one big enterprise, they only want to train for their data only, and then everybody other, government agencies, they only want it for them. There may be a problem on the left side, and why we are not, the company A to company B is not sharing. There should be some agency, federal government or something. I mean, if this, this media goes outside bigger, if somebody can start and all confidentially provides to a central agency somewhere, and that's where everybody try to solve the problem, would be better.
So from that perspective, the problem statement is very evident. So how is Axiado's technologies aim, or if you could elaborate a little bit more in terms of to secure everything from IoT sensors to private networks and cloud infrastructures? So
for us, is a platform, okay? Every platform, whether it's an IoT, medical IoT, whether it's an automobile, whether it is a point of sale services or the data centers. We started a data center. Concept is same. Concept is simple. What we're saying is any platform you try, it need to authenticate and attest itself first. Yeah. Anything you plug in a foreign object to it, until you trust it, that is a foreign object. Whether it's a pluggable accelerator card, a pluggable network card, or a Wi-Fi card, doesn't matter what it is. All these need to be authenticated and attested. So conceptually, we started with a bigger data center market. We'll eventually go into every other market to be able to do it. You cannot have the same guy. Every innovation in the market today, they don't want to spend more money. It's the same thing back to, again, Wi-Fi thing. It's cheaper that way. People are not ready to spend you. But think about this way. If I train everything to the, inside, like host CPU itself has all the security we have, don't worry about it, we can take care. Our logic is simple. If fire station is on fire, doesn't matter how many tools are inside. Okay, you can have a monumental size of it that you can stop anything in there, but it's already on a fire. There's nothing you can do. You need it from outside in. There should be dedicated security to watch the platform. So that's what we come to picture in here. You need an outside to monitor. You can still have all that stuff inside. An example of in here, if your software system is corrupted, doesn't matter how much of isolation you're trying to do, you're still within the system. That's why. And we don't want it. And the path to come into your system, x86 running or any host CPU running, applications are vulnerable, means you're able to come through and you'll be continue to running more. So when you try to do, you need to run, you have to have flexibility. That means you're going to open up more applications, more paths to bad actors to come in. Versus why are you giving the same system is also doing a protecting? I need to have a separate protection thing, which is us. It's like a watchguard sitting outside. So that concept can be anything, medical and everything. Everybody start now asking us, hey, can we get to here? It's a little bigger chip right now. We need to, as a roadmap wise, we'll do different versions of it.
I see. Now, going into time management perspectives from your point of view, you're doing advisory work and you're also board member for several innovative tech companies. So what are you doing, or how do you approach guiding these organizations or these companies, let alone running Axiado as well, which isn't a small gig? And what I really want to actually identify and learn from you is, what are the qualities that you believe are essential for success in the game that we're in?
All these companies, it's not if you take it as a load, okay? If you take it as a work, then yeah, it's an hours, okay? In your head, if it's an hour. For me, it's not the hours. It's the thing I like. Every day I get up, I want to do something. Whether it's too busy for you or not, and it all depends on your head. One is a physical. For me, I like all these companies also adrenal. Gives you different rather than a one only monotonous work. You have a little bit of different technology, like you talked about Wi-Fi. I've been on still on Wi-Fi companies and boards. So because that's something gives, I have expertise on that to be able to do it. And while we're talking about this also, you can crisscross between them to be able to do also. It's managing the time is, as I said, if you like it and it doesn't need to be, if you take it as a payable work, I'm not going to McDonald's and work. I got to put 4 hours to get the paycheck. That's a mundane work. Don't need to use my brain at the time. And not that offense, but here it's more of a what you're thinking and stuff. Yeah, someday I'll cut down. When the things are right now, I enjoy. I could take more. I like to be. One of the reasons I walked out of Qualcomm is also you asked me, you're comfortable? Yeah, there's a comfortable and financially comfortable and things are going well and all that stuff. But how do you do it relatively? How much of innovation my brain is stimulated was not. Okay, so at a certain level, it slows down. It's fair to the company stage another time, and that's what they need to do. They need to make sure that market date and time and all that stuff need to. Versus for me, I want to create something else. So something else is the one what I, here now we start becoming bigger in Axiado itself. Apart from the Axiado, something else also can do. It's sharing something, stimulate your brain to be different way and not monotonous one work. Maybe I like that way, I guess. And time is definitely tough, but there is another Gopi on the other side. And he's doing his job. He's looking for a bounce off ideas, and I am looking to some people to. I got board members also. I got investors. I got people I look up to, and we talked about Sehat too. Also, I bounce off sometime. I don't know the answer. Your company CEO job is everybody expects that you have an answer for everything. Okay, you have a solution for everything. We're all human. I don't, and nobody. So you had to go to somebody else to get the comfort. So that's where the advisors and that's where your investors and a board and all that. So I do have people I look up to, and maybe I am somebody looks up to me too also. So it's a chain, food chain. You need to be able to. If you cut off, you want to go, then how are you going to pass to whatever somebody's helping you? That's my concept of being the board and advisors and somebody else also.
Would you say from that perspective, and this is like a common theme that I've heard from several entrepreneurs, that the hardest part of the job is raising?
Money raising.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Is that the number one hardest thing?
I would say team and also the team and the money. Money definitely, because you can, as I just mentioned before also, you can have the greatest ideas in the world. A lot of great companies died because of lack of money. Or wrong timing, lack of convincing the money. It's not obvious, complex things. Yeah, OpenAI guy can go right now, ask for, I need $1 trillion to do it. It's easy because people thinking, or maybe that size also people are okay to fund. And small guy can come up with an idea, say, hey, I just need $2 million. It would be tough for him to do it. Yeah, it is. Early part of the company, money raising is almost 50% of the life. Okay, I mean, not at as a seed type. Seed, you'll get the ideas to, once you got it, you'll do it. From a seed to get to a certain level of the company product and all that, it's tough to, because seed people give you for small money for concept. But then from there into POC, proof of concept, then the customer and the product, all that need to happen in between. And that's the hardest part that most of the companies will die. Okay. If you can survive there, you have a relationship, people you can trust you. That's why the serial entrepreneur is successful, because at that bad time, there is somebody who trusted him before and they say they went through, they'll deliver. This is why the advisors helps you. The right guy on top can, this can do it. That's where we can help you. But it's still having the right team. You can have all the money you wanted, but the team is not there, they're committed. So I say, startup companies pays less, pretty default. Long time ago was very small. Like you had to take a 50% cut or even beyond that, okay, to come up and work. It's very tough for somebody to do that. Nowadays, it's not that bad, but you still need to cut out your bonuses and not that coming. That means they are sacrificing coming in. My logic is simple. If I pay same as what Google will pay, you won't work hard as you supposed to. Okay. What does that mean? It's simple. If you don't feel a little bit pinch, you're not running faster with everybody to get to that promised land. The promised land to make the product out and selling. If you don't feel the pinch of your life, maybe you didn't buy that car you wanted, okay, or fancy vacation you didn't go. That's only coming, further when we are successful. So if all of us are working for that shortage in your life, then you're running faster. And when you go run faster, you reach the promised land better. So that's the simple goal for us too. Part of that is obviously money saving. Every penny you want to use. So investors are also looking for you to be shrewd enough to this, they're not throwing away money. That's, money is not the only problem, but definitely, I would say team and money.
Looking back, the whole career, from the beginning, Gopi, in your life, all the way till now, what accomplishment are you most proud of and why?
That's a good question. Overall, I was a geek back in school. And if you talk to anybody in my high school, they don't think I would be speaking as my job. I'll be doing this as a business side, talking, convincing people to do it. That too, I get paid for talk. I get paid for, having an ideas to do it versus doing everything to me. That's the one big difference. At the same time, I was not much outgoing of this way. So accomplishment that to be able to at this stage, I'm lucky to have something that we achieved, some things, whether it's a company Wi-Fi mesh. It was very tough to convince people to be industry, and very tough to convince within the Qualcomm too also, because everybody is set up. There's a goal so you need to get every quarter type measurable, no leash for you to go for 2 years of do something. But to get that and then make it what is today. And when we draw on a whiteboard, hey, we do start here. We get in the middle somewhere, wherever the investment you put into this project, you make the money, that's all good for you. And that day would have been considered as this is a right project to be worked on. But we actually went off the corner of the right side of the top of the board, the success on that. That's definitely felt like, we did it. That was a vision, okay, but vision converting into beyond the vision. It doesn't matter. People don't need to know me that we did it, okay, or know us to be. But people are all talking, this is the best in the world. We cannot live with it. That makes you happy that to be able to. It's something to take it to grave. And what I'm doing today is also, we didn't start for money. We don't chase money. Money comes to, after you make something. But there's something we're making change completely. There's a serious problem. So once you start learning this one, how much your money or your life, imagine there's no more wars in the world. Is going to be no bombing each other type. You just cut off the finances. You disappear the bank outside. Imagine the people's life. Okay, so that's what need to be secured at stake. And if I'm contributing something to that, that's exciting. So hopefully this will come to that level that we will be so one more to take to the grave for us. So
I have good faith.
Thank you.
I think you'll do it very, very effectively. And you were recently inducted into the University of Arkansas's Electrical Engineering Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
What does this recognition mean to you personally and professionally?
It's definitely surreal. It was emotional when I'm accepting that. I can tell I'm open to accept that. I never expected to. First was not coming to this country, away from my country to stay away. One, two, whatever this. I remember sitting, that university outside, inside, in front of the union. Okay, the student union, and a small bench. Thought about what's going to be our life. Maybe first, 10 days into this country, it was tough. I mean, it's. I'm not an English native speaker. Okay, so it was not the greatest English I had. And at the same time, having where are we going to go from here is a bigger problem to be able to do it. But to come to this level, and the university, at the university is not that many international students were there at the time too also. I'll give you a simple example. There was we had some school, we had to go and teach people that there's a different color people exist. I don't want to go to the more problem statement here, but we went to school, and as an introduction to the people are like this, and there's a small kid, 6-year-old kid came in and like touching my skin and asking, like, she thinks like I'm an alien, okay? But it's from that stage to be, and we explained, she even asked me whether I do eat, bread every day type of things. Like she didn't know that there's a different kind of people, in here. But it's good that they did it, school. From that to school recognizing, and one of the few Indian descent guys or colored skin guys recognized in that university would be, that was surreal for me, definitely. That's why I said I was emotional to take in. I didn't know what it was, but coming back to this university to take that, and my family was there too also.
Wow. Do you use that moment, because I've had similar experiences as yourself, do you use that moment as a form of motivation?
Definitely. I mean, that I only asked my head of the dean and head of the electrical engineering, Dr. Brown passed away, but we asked for, there was another event, I don't want to go more details for that, another event, for that reason, we asked that, hey, we have to teach there are people just like this. So International Programs Office asked for to go and merge and mix with the people and teach everything. So yeah, definitely. I didn't take that as a runaway, that was a bad thing versus, something we can actually go to and teach people. This is all humans, we all work. There's nothing wrong with the one side or the other side, but it just need to know, inclusiveness need to happen. Absolutely. So it doesn't matter, race, gender, it doesn't matter to be. It's a person, and there's a talent, you need to be able to. Anything, as I told you, if a chaos and a no answer, I don't take a no. Unfortunately, I don't take a no. And it's painful for others, and my family says to others, can you just stop fighting for this? No, that's exactly what makes me drive, so we'll continue.
I mean, like you said, unfortunately, part of the world lacks in common sense. When people realize we all bleed the same color. How do you see Axiado evolving in its mission now to reshape cybersecurity in the years ahead now?
We are fortunate to be good tailwinds coming in right now.
Okay.
And we are able to, as I said, in the beginning was a no and Heisman hand for us, and now, hey, let me hear. So I do get chair at the table right now to discuss what I have a solution. That's fortunate that we're able to achieve. I'm glad my team is able to do that. And from here to be, whether we become the next NVIDIA, what are you talking about? Thank you for that. And we, in Hindi, we say, you know, muh mein ghee shakkar means we'll give you sweet for you for that.
Thank you.
For that too. So to get to the market too, we can change this. Majority of the world stops at least a one attack because of us, and that would be surreal for us. That's what I'm looking for. One day that there's some particular attack is stopped because of Axiado solutions.
Thank you for Axiado. Yeah. Gopi, from your side of things, let's say you're Gopi now, and you see the younger version of Gopi who just came to America now. What advice would you give him?
No, I give it to. I got two sweet kids, and I'm proud of them, and have a family great. So I tell them the same thing too. Don't count your failures. Don't count your troubles, problems, obstacles. We're all here to always give an excuse. So that instead of word excuses may be offensive, but it's saying obstacles. Don't give a reasoning why you cannot go where you want to go. See workaround. See that you can do differently, not somebody else's problem. Okay, that's what I keep telling myself to be able to. I would have, I did that way, and I continue to do that. As I told you, the failure of an employee is not because of an employee; it's actually a leader who is not able to. So every time, I learned from one of my teachers back in school. If you give an excuse to somebody says, okay, means you answer why you didn't do it, whatever it is, was a success or whatever the stuff you're doing. Your head hears through your ears. Your mouth said something, then it neutralizes the pain for you. That means you already know, you pacify, that's not the problem anymore. But don't give an excuse, then you still know the problem, and then fight for that. So I would say that all the kids to be, for me, what I could have done, I would have given advice differently. Maybe I spent too much of life studious rather than too much, having a fun outside a little bit. I don't know what fun that would have been. Yeah, I could have been chill a little bit. So that's all I could say. I mean, I'm happy for whatever it is. Here, I don't think I would have changed anything. And if it was easy, maybe I wouldn't enjoy it, okay, in the way you do it. So, yeah, I could chill a little bit rather than too serious.
Well, you have to enjoy the hard work that you put into at the end of it, because and then we don't take it to the grave at the end of the day. Yeah. If I was to ask you, Gopi, from your perspective, what's your support? Like, do you have like a rock that you depend on?
Repeat that question, sorry.
I said, what's your support ground? I mean, do you
for
have
me,
like a certain rock that you depend on?
No, for me is faith. Okay, something you can pray all you wanted, but you need to work yourself hard. I believe in something in our Indian saying that you put a light on, okay, candle on. You just pray God to keep it while there's a wind, but you got to put the hands around it to save it. So our part is hands. That gives me, you got to go fight for that. And second one, I talked about this teacher back in high school, told me one thing. At the end of the day, as you said, you go to grave where you don't take anything. And the same thing, everybody in between, there's always a reason somebody to help you, not help you, okay? So that means you create a reason why somebody need to help you out, okay? It's yours, not somebody else. It's you who creates help in that. So I keep looking for, if there's a failure, why he didn't help me? Like money raise, you say, why didn't he give me? What didn't like it? Okay, learn that, go to the next one, and you're able to cover that. So you continue to, that's what it is. I don't take a failure as that's it, done. But it's actually learning. So you take that a failure as a learning and go for it. That keeps me going. And then you pray
Yeah.
You get the support, what need to. And I took my head out, shave off for 4 weeks ago. We said, we were in trouble a year ago, and we believe in a garden back in India, in Balaji. We said, okay, if we get the funding and put it on straight, because I know semiconductor market is doing well, my product is doing well. This is one of the reasons I would have died. The company would have died. But we prayed we're going to do it if we survive. I got to survive. I cannot excuse myself if I don't survive when the market is good for these reasons.
Yeah.
But we're able to survive. So I'm thankful to shave off, and I did. So it's just it's not
symbolism.
It's just something makes the human to believe it, and you go do it. So.
Yeah, one of the interesting things is, well, I'll never forget this. It was by a professor called Professor Ilya Struev during my exec program at Stanford this year. And he's notorious for VC raising. And he's got this great book called The Venture Mindset. And he said that when you go to a VC, for example, and you ask them for money, you got a high chance of being rejected. But if you go to a VC and you ask them for advice, you got a higher chance of being accepted.
Yeah, it's always right. If you ask, you're already in a deep thing, and you don't ask, you actually discuss. This is what that advisory and all that important. If you there's nobody can do. One person can do this thing. Imagine. So you got to be able to say incentivize. Remember, I told you why does he help you? Show him why you need to. This is your thing. Why I need to convince you should put money means I had to show you something written, you're going to get it. So convince the way to the level of, I talked about two things. You go to his level and explain. There's a lot of humiliation, by the way, okay, on raising money to go. If you go to the room, they say you keep the ego out and come back. Sometimes you walk out of the room, damn, that guy didn't get anything at all. Okay, I don't want to curse, but what the hell? Okay? But he has money. Yeah. So you didn't go to his level to explain to that. That's all it is, simple. So, yeah, it's always how you make that happen. So,
Gopi, to end this wonderful podcast, and I'm definitely going to interview you again in the future to see how Axiado has progressed, and
I hope so.
Touch wood, it hits. I think the goal is IPO or exit. Or?
I've been now part of a fourth company as a startup, and everybody asks this question. Our answer is simple. We're not thinking about anything one way or the other. We're not set to do one or the other. We're set to make the product first, make the product useful, customer base, customer acceptance. In the process of something comes up, in whether acquisition, we'll consider. Investors got to make together a call on that too, or public. I'm not set for that. I need to take it to somewhere, not take it to somewhere. We're just going
enjoy the journey.
That's all at this point. So
we have a tradition on the show: is that the last person leaves a question for the next person. So the question that was left for you was, if you look at the semiconductor industry from a historical perspective. In comparison to the past 50 years, what do you think that the next 50 years is going to look like?
The world is digital now, right now. Everything is just the last 50 years to now, it's all digital. Like everything was, some level of not, but then it was a one digital device to be. Now everything is the world, including your heart is digital, okay? The next is world short is AI, okay? Everything is going to be around, AI doesn't mean don't take this as the only image based on all that. We created a calculator, and olden days, even myself, we didn't use fingers, but it used to be. And Indians are known for the calculator in the head. We do. That's where you train. But if you talk about the next generation guys, 3 + 4, he'll type in, okay? It's not like something wrong with it. You train the brain to be a mundane job to give into the tool, and then you start doing something else better. Same way this AI. And this will do a lot of basic functions for you. And everything to be simplest thing. Digital world changed for you. Turn on the switches, you're pushing the button, now you do clap or something like that. Now it will detect you walking in. It will detect you to be able to. So those are taken care. But then you have to use your brain now, to make use of what can you do with that to be next, okay? Not making ourselves lazy. One way to see is making lazy, but then you look about the opportunity, go do. I think that's we're just scratching the surface on the AI side. Okay, it's a human level thinking that machine can do it, and transportation and all the stuff is going to be much better. Medical and all that's going to be better too. Also, there'll be problems. That's different, but I think that's the world I see. Either it's 50 years or not, I don't know, but next couple of decades for sure.
You think AI is going to be showing the good and the bad?
Everything is going to have a good and bad. We from a nuclear bomb to here, man. Everything people will find out. I mean, I am fighting against the same thing. Let me tell you for sure, still the bad actors has an upper hand on the security with AI than the good actors. They still have a better hand. Wow. And because they have the tools, they can do it. And it's no different than somebody breaking the glass and stealing it, because it's easier. It's free. Is it ethical? Not, but it's easier for him to. Okay, so same thing, no different on this technology side, and everybody becomes just a machine to do it and able to do it, and he'll do it. That's all it is.
Gopi Sirineni, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you, Sal.
Thank you so much, sincerely, and excited to see your successes for the years to come. Okay. It will happen, and thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity, and always nice to see you again. Yeah, and we'll talk again.
Definitely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.